Our guest tonight is Kara Khan, and she is a Philadelphia-based artist who works in alternative and historic process photography, as well as bookmaking and fiber arts. Using a research-based approach to her work, she focuses on collaboration, experimentation, and direct action. And so without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Kara.
Hi, guys. Thanks so much for coming from all over the place. This is really exciting. I see I already have a question, and it's a great question. Um, but I think it would make a lot more sense to talk about that at the end. So I will
Let me
definitely.
let me jump in. Dennis, was that question specifically for Kara, or are you asking if Halide does
Oh, that's awesome.
anthrotype workshops or anything like that? Sorry, just to clarify. Okay. I'll answer for Halide in the chat, and then Kara, you can answer for yourself during your talk. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds great. Well, thank you. Thanks so much, Dale. And the Halide, I can speak is an amazing resource and place to see shows and make work, and I'm really grateful that it exists. Um, so I'm just gonna get going because I have a bunch of slides and I want to get to all of them. So let's see. I'm gonna share my screen. Here. Okay. Is that good? Can everybody see my screen? Yeah, great. Um, so I started working with Polaroid um about 10 years ago as a way of getting out of a creative rut. Uh, I had to ask myself the last time I had like the most fun making photos, and it was as a kid um, with Polaroid. So I started shooting Polaroid, um, and it people started. I was like be walking down the street with them, taking photographs. People would ask me for their photograph. It started getting kind of expensive to take photographs of people for free on the street. And I realized people wanted that. So I started a photo booth called Pop Up Polaroid. And it started on the streets of Philly, where I would just pop up outside of like food trucks, bars. If anyone knows Frankfurt and Gerard, kind of a crazy place to be on a Saturday night. And that led to now a 10-year long running business where I work with venues across Philly um, and beyond, um, shooting weddings, events, things like that. So that's just kind of like a little intro to Pop Up Polaroid. Um, and then I fell down a massive rabbit hole. So um, a couple years into doing pop up, I got a setup to do 8x10, and I got a studio space in Philly where I could do portraits, um, and yeah, got been able to work with people. I've had people come from all over the country to set up appointments. Got to work with different, like a lot of musicians, which is always really fun, for album covers and artwork, things like that. And so I've been thinking a lot about collaboration and what collaboration means in my work and how it plays out across different projects. Um, so in the back of as artists, as a photographer, I, the photographers I love, their work is just like always in the back of my head, right? Um, so I think it's important to think about that as to think about the artists you love as collaborators in the work that you're making. Um, this is just an example of that. That's a Richard Avedon portrait. And again, it's another Richard Avedon. He's my go-to for a studio. Um, so yeah, just thinking about collaboration in a broader sense. And then also thinking about collaboration, like collaborating with your materials, um, and specifically working with, like with film, with alternative process in general. Often, something I love about it is you end up making images that you could never imagine. You would never necessarily imagine making on your own. Um, so the process itself is super important and how things turn out. These are 8x10s I did at a festival that was like, I think it was like 90, 95, 100 degrees. And I had like coolers filled with ice, trying to keep my film cool, trying to protect it. And it didn't work. But what did happen is all of these beautiful marks and like distortion of color. It like turned out like technicolor and just things that I never would have uh, considered. I think that's a really beautiful thing. This is another example of that. So um, these were taken on the same day, and the image on the right was taken before the film had time to adjust. It was a cold day. It was a cold day in my studio. It took a minute for my old drafty studio to warm up. Um, and so I was a little bit impatient with the one on the right, and I didn't wait for the film to warm up and got this beautiful ghostly like drawing almost. Um, and this is the same day after the film had adjusted to temperature. So that's just something I just it always is a pleasant surprise when your materials give you a little gift like that. um, so these are Polaroids that were microwaved. Um, so again, just thinking about like I was my idea to microwave them. I knew they were going to come out generally weird, but working with your materials, working with your process, you get all kinds of fun surprises.
Karen, I'm gonna jump in. Dennis is he says he wasn't aware that the temperature would affect the the film. The
Mm-hmm.
temperature of the film would affect the shot that much. And I'm just wondering to like extrapolate a question out of that. Is there any way that you've kind of learned to work with that or kind of harness the way the temperature affects the results?
Um, yeah, well, yeah, you that's like taking it out of, I store my film in the fridge. Um, so yeah, exactly right. So the more you end up in circumstances like that, the more you learn about the materials you're working with and how to like use those surprises intentionally. Um, so yeah, to get something like that, you could just shoot with straight out of the fridge um, and play with that effect. Playing with the heat is a little bit more difficult. Um, I haven't necessarily figured out a way to replicate that in my studio. But you could wait for a hot summer day and hopefully your pods will explode.
Thanks.
Yeah. If that does that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah. I just wanted to kind of transform his interest in the way the temperature
Yeah.
was affecting into kind of a question that
Yeah,
might
it's
be
wild
helpful for people.
how sensitive even this taking like smaller format Polaroid uh it can the time it takes for it to develop if it's on a cold day. That's why they'll recommend you like sticking it in your pocket.
Mm.
It can take like 3 times longer to develop, and it can also affect the way it comes out for sure.
So is that just kind of hit or miss? Like if you're like the time that it takes to develop, you just kind of guess and then work off that, the results of that first guess and tweak it as you go.
Yeah, 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 I would say. Um, this is a project just of using Polaroids as a starting point. This was a window display for a show. Um, so those are boxes that when put together, I think they're like 5 feet by 5 feet. Um, and so I built boxes, scanned in Polaroids, blew them up big, and wheat pasted them on to these boxes. And so the images of a woman from the front, the sides, both sides, and the back. So as the boxes turn around, she's also turning around, and people were able to pick them up, move them around, twist them around. Um, so then the viewers then become the collaborators of the work and how it shifts and changes, um, and become part of it, which I feel I love to watch that happen. And also just using like, I don't know, Polaroids. It's something I love about making photographic work today is, you can combine so many different ways of printing and um, like scanning things and playing with scale. Um, it's like a good time. So this is segueing into more specific projects. Um, so this was a project I started. It's called Dear Mr. President Project. Um, I started with my collaborator Ashley Smith, who's an amazing person and incredible artist. Um, where it was a direct response to Trump being elected, and just specifically feeling feeling it as a woman and wanting to connect with other women who are also feeling similar ways. So it kind of just started out with me photographing women around me, and then it circled outwards, and asking them to respond if they felt like they wanted to respond immediately onto their image after I took it. And this project, it went through all of Trump's presidency. So it lasted about 4 years, and it morphed um, a bunch of different times. So I was able to show the work in a different way every time. This was at a show where the Polaroids were blown up again and then wheat pasted to fill a room. And then then during COVID, um, because of the nature of the work where it was about interacting directly with people um, in space, like human to human, it uh, we were like, well, now what? What are we gonna do? Because we can't do that anymore. And Ashley is an amazing. Uh, she's a fabric. She works with fabrics also. Um, and we decided to print the images on fabric and send them out to anyone who wanted one, to do with it what they wanted to. So we sent them around the country, and they sent them back, and it turned into this protest banner. Um, so that the waves of collaboration kind of just like keep spiraling out. um, this was a video, but it didn't work out to so so these fabric pieces were also turned into pillows at one point. And I had a blow up doll of Trump made, and I had shown the work before. I don't have a picture of it, and I apologize. But I had shown the work before where there was the blow up Trump, and the image is printed on pillows, so it was like a pillow fight, and you could take the pillow and hit the blow up doll. And after he lost in 2020, I ended up just bringing everything out into the street because it was a massive party in Philadelphia. And then that turned into its completely own thing that was like far beyond anything I would have imagined. I think there was about like 300 people that ended up circling this project, and they just like took it. People just took it over, and one by one would like have a turn. Um, so that was like the end, the end piece of that project. Uh, and then this in 2020, I was working um, with an organization called JJIE, the Juvenile Justice Information Exchange, as a photographer. I've worked with them over the past like 10 years. And then when the protests started happening in 2020, in the summer of 2020, they were just, it was just like, whatever, whatever you can get, go out there, see what's going on. So I did, and um, we ended up getting, I was photographing a protest that ended up on the highway that ended up getting tear gassed. um, and that got picked up by the New York Times, and it became a kind of a big to do. Um, so this I actually have I have links to like the videos and the stuff I'm talking about that I can send in after if anyone wants to take a look at this in more detail. Um, so the photographs I made during those protests, I ended up getting a residency to make a zine. Um, so this is this. Sorry. So it's called Bad Apple Zine, about the police conduct during that time, and one specific day in Philly. Excuse me. Kind of high profile day in Philly, and I was able to collaborate with my partner, who's a musician, and we went through audio clips, um, videos, and newspaper articles, um, all kinds of things for months. And he made 2 tracks. So the zine is 2 sides, like a record. So there's like an A side and a B side, and each side has its own track that goes with the images. That when you scan the QR code, you can listen to it as you flip through. Um, so again, just another example of collaboration, and the viewer becoming part of the work, actively part of the work. That's just some photos from. And I will link to the audio also. It's just kind of a cool review. Let's put it out there. um, so that work, I also started making digital negatives of that work and just playing around with collaging, um, just like collaging through the chaos of what was going on, um, through using cyanotypes. So this is a cyanotype collage. And in the research of both cyanotype and um, police conduct and history, they've the the first book that was ever illustrated with cyanotypes. Anna Atkins, is that right? Right. Anna Atkins's book was published in 1843, and the first police department in the United States was started in 1844. So there's in just in doing in doing that research, like they kind of just um, those two things kind of elevate. I feel like elevate how they go together. Excuse me. This is another zine project I was working on around the same time. Um, it started after being abroad and noticing that most other countries don't have their flag everywhere, and thinking that coming back and being like, wow, we really have our flag like everywhere. And so for a couple of years, I was just photographing flags I saw them or whenever I noticed them. Um, the more you do that, the more you notice them, and it kind of breaks your brain. So I don't recommend it. Uh, and it is led to this project of putting those images together, and it's called Burn This Book. So there are matches sewn into the cover, and there's a striker paper in every centerfold. So the book is asking you to burn it if you want, and are you burning the flag or are you burning a book, or I don't know. It's another invitation for the viewer to become the collaborator, and it's been fun. People take it and they'll burn it. They'll take a video of it, and then I see it, and then that becomes kind of like a performance in itself. um, it takes on a world of its own. That's just that's a spread from one of the zines. Um, so this also in 2020 started thinking a lot more about materials um, and the impact as an artist the materials I use have. So this is a Caffenol, and is me trying to incorporate more less toxic materials into my practice, into the studio. Um, Caffenols are a homemade developer you can make with um, baking soda, washing soda, and coffee. This is kind of actually a good segue into the anthrotype question. Um, so let's see. So the after Roe v. Wade got overturned, um, I started. I was reading somewhere about a plant from like the Roman Empire that was like I cannot think of the name of the plant, but it is extinct, and it was used for abortion, and it was a huge part of their life and world. And it led me down a rabbit hole into how plants have always been used for thousands of years for abortion care. Um, so this is it's a phytogram, which is similar to a cathinol, except here the paper is exposed and then developed in the cathinol. These are plants that are dipped in a cathinol solution and then put directly on the paper and exposed so that when they peel up, they leave these prints. So this is Philadelphia fleabane, which is a native plant to Philadelphia um, that has for that has been used for abortion. Um, and I've actually to go back to the anthrotype question, um, which anthrotypes is so. If anyone doesn't know, it is a way of printing photos using a solution made from plants, where the exposures are generally very long. Um, I've done them before. I've also just recently found out about like phenol developers, which are similar to cathinol, but you can you can take any plant and like look up and create developers like based off of their like phenol content. Um, and I've seen really cool results from this. Um, so that is something that is where I kind of want this work to go, to be making developers out of abortion plants themselves and using processes like anthrotypes. Um, so yeah, this is a project I'm currently working on. So this is chamomile, which is also an abortion plant, part of my own abortion garden. Yeah, just my studio is filled with lots of drying leaves and flowers for wintertime developer making. Kind of, this is a little moving a little bit away from photography, um, but uh, on the subject of materials and healthier materials, these are structures I've made from mycelium, which is the mushroom roots, um, using molds from like found objects and things my friends have made. And currently, my 6-month-old daughter loves climbing all over these. But yeah, they will hopefully. It's this idea isn't current. It's like just not. It's still being formed. It's not current. It's not like fully fleshed out. But I would love to incorporate mycelium somehow um, in the abortion garden. Um, yeah, and this is just this is an emulsion lift workshop that is coming up at with Halide that I will be doing really soon. If you guys are around and you want to come, love that. I have some example right here. So this is like a little guy I've been working on. This is an emulsion lift, which is where you can take the image out of the Polaroid and transfer it onto paper or other objects. So this is a little rock.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, come join us.
Oh, please.
It'll be fun.
It'll be awesome. Yeah. Um, so that's all of my slides. I
Cool.
maybe kind of talked a little bit fast through them.
Well, if anybody has any questions, you can pop them into the chat or you could do the raise hand function and then I could let you turn your mic on so you can ask questions with your actual voice. And I just wanted to quickly jump in, like this talk about kind of plant-based photo methods. Um,
Hmm.
and I mentioned Ann Eater in my response to Dennis in the chat, but in the past, I think about once a year, Anne will do an online class with us called Silver Canvas, where she'll go into some of these plant-based processes. And I just actually emailed her today to see if she wanted to schedule one for the spring. So if anyone's out there in the audience and is interested in these um, processes, stay tuned again to our website and social media and our newsletter for a notification about when that's going to be happening.
Yeah, if you don't know Anteater's work, it's really, really cool and fun. Yeah, I'm a big fan.
Yes. Yeah, no, she's a great her work is great and then she's also a very excellent, like highly respected instructor and teacher. So wherever you can catch her, she's a good person to catch. But we like to encourage you to catch it through Halide, so just keep an eye out. Yeah, and Dennis, you can sign up through the through our website, so you can sign up for the newsletter there. So yeah, that's probably the best place. We just send it out once a month typically, so it's not like you're going to be barraged, but you'll get all of the upcoming news there. It's a good way to stay up on what's happening in Halide land. But again, if anybody has any question, oh, yep, here we go. JJ, what type of Polaroid camera do you use to shoot the images like the dog pictured there?
Yeah, that's 8 by 10, which is a really fun specific process that I teach workshops on that. So
So JJ should take one of your workshops.
you should totally take one of my workshops. Hit me up.
Where do you, other than the upcoming Polaroid, like the lift, Polaroid lift workshop you're doing for us, do you teach like one-on-ones out of your studio? Do you have a regular
Yes,
place to teach?
yeah, absolutely. Um, if you reach out to me through email or through Instagram, I love showing people the 8 by 10 Polaroid process. So
Cool.
yeah.
Kathleen is wondering at the Polaroid emulsion lift workshop, should they bring their own Polaroid cameras? Should they bring their own Polaroids? What should they bring to the workshop? Or what do you expect people to bring and what will you be providing?
Everything will be provided. You're welcome to bring your own Polaroid camera. If you'd like, you're welcome to bring your own Polaroids. If there's something that you want to try to make a lift of. Um, I will also be bringing, oh my God, the name of it is escaping my brain. Um, there is a, there's a Polaroid, not technically a camera, where you can take your um, cell phone photos and it will take a photo of your cell phone photo
Hmm.
and print out a Polaroid.
Hmm.
They're really useful for doing emulsion lifts because if you mess up or you want to like work out an idea, there's only one Polaroid, so it's helpful to be able to make multiples. So we'll also have that. Um, I'll be bringing Polaroids that people can use if they like, just to test out the process. Um, so yeah, you don't have to bring anything, but you are absolutely welcome to.
Cool. I know there are different types of Polaroid cameras and Polaroid films. So are
Yeah.
there any that work better or worse
Oh,
for
that's a good question.
lifting?
Yeah. Um, I find that black and white generally works better. Um, right now, you'll probably most likely be working with uh, 600 film or I-type, which both of them are great to use. Um, No other instant film will work, so Instax won't work. It has to be Polaroid film.
Interesting. Um, Dennis has, or I'm sorry, not Dennis, Devin has questions and comments. But before I read them off, Kathleen was asking what your Instagram handle is.
Okay,
So, Kara, if you can
I'll
type that
type it
in.
in right now.
Cool. In the meantime, Devin loves how your work is constantly building off of your last project, very similar to how a printmaker will print multiple variations of the same work to realize a final product. Do you feel like a quote unquote final product exists in your work, or is it kind of a cycle of building off of each other?
Yeah, I feel like it's the latter. It feels like one thing definitely leads to the next thing, and I'll kind of keep working it and reworking it until it feels like um it's it's can't be done in another way. um but yeah, thank you for saying that. That's a cool way of thinking. I've never thought of myself, never thought of it that way as a printmaker. Yeah,
That
I
that
kind of,
gives
sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say that gives me kind of like a follow-up question is if you're kind of building and building, what do you do with like the earlier iterations that might not be kind of like that final piece? Do you keep them and do something with them, or are they kind of just relegated to the a box somewhere?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, sometimes like with with the Dear Mr. President project specifically, they would kind of make their way in somehow. Like oftentimes I would show like the original Polaroids with whatever iteration it had moved on to. Um, yeah, yeah. Usually I just like fall down a rabbit hole and I just have to like dig my way out until I fall down the next one. Is how I feel.
Awesome. Um, so you said you had some links. Oh, Dennis has a comment, but
Oh yeah.
before I read that out, you had links to like the audio and like the New York Times article, I think, or
Yeah,
more information on that.
I
So
will. Yeah, let me put. I think I just have to stop there.
okay. While you're digging around for those, I'm gonna read Dennis's
Okay.
comment. Dennis has one more question. Sorry, no need to apologize. That's why we're
Ask
here.
all the questions.
Okay, so Dennis is a student at Kingston University and has been working with anthotypes to create some of their work. And was wondering how you, Kara, as an artist, link the process of making your artwork out of a natural or more natural process with the meaning behind the image produced. I've had trouble coming up with justifications and wonder how you think about it. I think I just struggle a lot with the deeper meaning behind my works, which is an important question about the methodology kind of matching the conceptual underpinnings of the work, which is important. So go ahead.
Yeah. No, that's something I think about a lot. I think especially as a photographer, when you're like working in a world where everyone is taking photos all the time and everyone is a photographer, um, to be able to like to make those connections um, is really important. Like talking about the abortion garden, right? Like how can I, as a photographer, like make all these ideas about like working with these plants make sense, right? Is for me that looks like making developer with those using those plants in all these different um, ways, using caffeinol specifically, um, caffeinol, caffeine, and caffeine is a has been used as an abortifacient plant method. Um, so like linking the process to the work um, through through research. Usually that's just like digging around through research. The connections can happen organically. Um, I guess I feel like just making the work that you want to make, though, like you will, those connections will come, and not being like too worried when you're going into a project of like how to start off that way. I think can kind of put you in the weeds a little bit. And the more you work with your materials, the more you'll answer your own questions, I think. Um, yeah, like just thinking about also like for in this book, I was like making these images for years until those all of these different things kind of clicked into making it work into something that I feel is like a cohesive project, um, and the way that it was intended to be shown. Um, but it didn't
Mhm.
start out that way, you know. I just it just happened organically just by working my way through it.
Yeah, I think that maybe the more knowledge you have of different ways of working can inform that too. Like if you're more familiar with a wider variety of processes, you could land on one that works, or presentation methods. You can land on
Yeah.
something that fits. So like if you're a student just going and seeing shows,
Mhm.
I mean, anyone going to seeing shows could open your eyes to different methods of working, that could
Mhm.
inform your own work.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I don't I work with students sometimes. It's I love to do it when I can. And some I'll have them work. I recommend that they work with as many different cameras as possible, um,
Mm.
and just like follow other interests that they have because it's so easy, especially in the Instagramification of artists, to like feel like you have to be a brand, feel like you have to come like make work that fits, you know. And it's like I I'm totally anti that. um, feel like exploring as many avenues as possible will help you make those like connections that you're talking about. Like just following up with what Dale said, yeah. Um, I also feel like people ask me a lot what kind of camera they should get, and I always tell them whatever camera will help you like make the work. Um, and I think that every camera you work with, every process you work with, like opens up a new way of thinking about how you make work and the kind of work that you'll make. I don't take the same photos with my 8x10 that I take with my digital SLR, or um, that I do with Papinols, or contact printing. So um, I think it's really important to play with all the things you can that you have access to.
Cool.
Does that answer your question at all, Dennis? Or if you have a follow up, don't be afraid to keep the
And don't be
convo
shy.
going.
Yeah, and I think too, like if you think about like what are you trying to say, and what's the concept that's driving the work that you're doing? If you think about that, sometimes that leads to like how best to present your work. I mean, I feel like the artists who are most successful with using some of these experimental processes really have been able to tie their process to the concept with the work. And when you don't have that tie, I think you can be right, Dennis, that it might seem a little like maybe it seems gimmicky if you're using a very like kind of
Yeah,
quirky um, process, but it doesn't seem related to your concept. So being thoughtful about that connection, I think, is important.
yeah, yeah. Even yeah, with like Dear Mr. President, like that project to me only makes sense with Polaroid,
Mhm.
because those images are being made directly uh, there with the person you're taking it of, where they can see it right away, they can interact with it right away. they can make their mark on it with you. Um,
Mhm.
to do that, it's I wouldn't have that. I don't think it would have ever occurred to me to do that and with another
Mm.
and then another way.
Cool.
Oh, those darn tutors. I think just out yeah, being patient with yourself. Just just keep doing it. Keep doing if there's a process you love, something will fall from the sky and smack you on the head, and it will it just will happen. I know sometimes it feels like it won't, but it will happen. And it might not be, you might be working through multiple projects at the same time, and it might be years before that happens, but um it it's worth sticking with it, I think.
Definitely.
I'm gonna drop these links in here.
Cool.
If anyone
Oh, Carrie, you're using the host and panelist drop down, so
Oh,
just do everyone in chat.
gotcha. One day I'll learn how to do computers.
Don't do it. All right, so if anybody else has any questions, oh,
Devin with the questions.
Devin, yes. This may be unrelated or very broad, but seeing how you take your work into so many different avenues of expression is very inspiring. What advice do you have for artists facing a block in their work or eager to explore new ways of showing work?
Yeah. I mean, is picking up a Polaroid started with a block that's led to 10 years
Mhm.
of playing around with them. So I think just like again, like not limiting yourself. It was it was like it was kind of scary for me to think of making work that was so far outside of photo, that was so like unrelated to photo, until I realized it just doesn't matter. And the more you know, the more you experiment with different things, the more it will come back to your photographic process, or whatever artist you think of yourself as. And so, yeah, I think it's if you want to learn how to sew or throw ceramics or turn mushrooms into a weird table, I think all of those things will um, be a positive, have a positive effect on your practice.
So just keep creating.
Yeah. Yeah. Any inkling you have for something you think might be cool, just follow it, see where it goes.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. You're so welcome.
All right. Does anybody else have questions or comments? And everyone take some time to copy those links that Kara put in the chat, because they will disappear when we hang up.
Oh, yeah.
All right. All right. I guess if we have no last minute questions or anything, is this call recorded? Yes, that's a very good question and actually a very good point. Um, we have just had one of our board members go through and archive all of our past talks on our Vimeo page. And so this talk will also end up there at some point. It'll probably take a few weeks or a month or so. Um, but in the meantime, if you're interested, you can go back and check out our Vimeo page because we have tons of, like, I think over 50 talks recorded there with artists who are working in a lot of these processes that we've mentioned, some of these questions about like linking method to concept. There are artists who are very good examples of that. So if you go to Vimeo, it's not listed on the website yet. That's a very good question, Kathleen. We are going to eventually have a page, um, maybe with thumbnails of all the different talks or something like that, where people can go right to Vimeo, but we're working on that. So in the meantime, if you just go to Vimeo and search the Halide Project as a person, I think they have a couple different options regarding how to do their searches. And I believe a person is what you have to select to look up the Halide Project. And then once you land there, you'll see all kinds of talks listed. But yeah, at some point it'll have its own page on the website where you can see all the talks and link to them.
I'm just gonna throw my email up here also.
Cool.
Um, so yeah, if you have any other questions or want to reach out, anybody, feel free to shoot me an email. Thanks so much for coming, hanging out.
Thank you. And thanks to everyone who came with your questions and your comments.
Yeah.
And all right, well, we hope to see you soon. The next talk isn't posted yet. We'll have a November talk, I swear. It'll be posted to the website soon and announced in our newsletter and stuff as well. So hopefully we'll see you guys in the future. And thank you again, Kara, for coming and chatting
Thank
with
you
us.
so much for having me. It was my pleasure.
Awesome. All right. Good night, everyone.